Okay, guys. So let's start with this is the syllabus. The name of the course is Programming for Problem Solving, right? And even before going to the syllabus, let's just try to understand what are the course outcomes that we are looking forward. That means what we are expecting after we have completed the course, right? So the first course objective is develop simple algorithms for arithmetic and logical problems. Okay? We will see what algorithm means soon. So we understand what a arithmetic problem is, what a logical problem is. Arithmetic means mathematical, where computation is involved, right? And logical means where you need to take a decision, right? Correct? Fine. Then second is translate the algorithms to program and execution. That means the algorithm that you write, you have to convert it to a program. So algorithm is something which is written in something plain English kind of language, right? And then it is converted to the language on which we are coding. It could be C, it could be Python, it could be C++, it could be Java, it could be C sharp or any of the programming languages, right? So the programming language typically have their own syntax and their own way of doing things, right? But the algorithm is something which is a common representation in plain English. Got the idea? Right. Then what we expect is implement the conditional branching, right? Like if we are in a position in our algorithm that I don't know whether I should do this or that, whether I should follow this route or that route, right? So there will become a condition check. That means upon certain fulfillment of certain condition, we will choose one of the many possibilities or routes. Okay? This is what we call as conditional check. Okay? Like you are driving somewhere and then you go to a place where there are two ways. You have a turn, right turn and left turn. Then depending upon where you are going, you need to take a decision that should I turn right or should I turn left, right? So this is one decision making condition, right? We will talk something about iteration. Iteration means to do something in repeated order. Okay? When we do something in repeated order a number of times, that is what we call as iteration. Okay? And we call it iterate over. Okay? And then there is something called as recursion. We will see recursion separately. I will not talk recursion at this point of time until I show you the real example, because that will confuse iteration from recursion. Okay? Then the course objective is to decompose the problem into functions. Functions, as the name says, that does something. That does something. So there is something called as function in programming languages. Okay? That's a small group of statements meant to do certain task. Okay? So that is what we call as a function. So we will decompose the problem into functions. That means the problem could be large, right? It could be a large problem, but we will decompose or break them down into small chunks of problem statements which are in their individuality are fully achievable. Okay? Okay? We will learn more and then you will understand. So this approach, that if we have got a large problem and then we break it down into smaller sets of problems and we try to solve each set individually, either in sequential order or parallelly, depending upon what approach we choose, this is typically called as a divide and conquer approach. divide and conquer. ठीक है? Ever heard of this term before from British era? Divide and rule. ठीक है? It's the same thing essentially. ठीक है? Okay. Then there is something called as array, which is technical. We will learn the language, then we will try to understand what is an array. Then there is something called as pointers. This is typical to C language or C++ language. Okay? We do not have pointers in many languages, like the one who said he knows Java. He may be knowing that we do not have the concept of pointers available to the developer. Okay? Because of certain reasons. And the reason is basically the security reasons. There is something called as structures. We will see what a structure is. But as the name indicates, just from the linguistic meaning, you should be in a position to relate that has got some kind of defined uh, thing is called a structure. Right? Its elements are defined, right? And this all is used to develop algorithms and programs. Okay? So this is the overall overview of the course and the things that you can expect after the course. This is not too much, right? But taking this into consideration that you are the first time learners of a programming language, it could feel little hard to you. Then just keep asking wherever you feel you are not getting the points. Okay? Now, if we just look at the syllabus, that is the unit 1 of the syllabus. Okay. In introduction to programming, we have got a few things which are more theoretical. Like for example, introduction to components of a computer system. Okay? And what are the components that we need to discuss? We need to discuss the disk, what we call as hard disk, right? It could be a solid state device as well. Okay? We will see what they are. Memory, okay? Typically viewed in the form of a RAM. Processor, something which is meant to process instructions, right? We need to understand where the program is stored and how it is executed. Executed means to run a program, right? To execute a job means to do a job, right? So whenever you learn something for the first time, try to relate it to the literal meaning of it. Okay? You will get a lot of idea. Then something called as operating system, a system that operates over a lot of things. Okay? Something called as compilers, interpreters, and so on. Okay? We will try to understand what is the idea of algorithm. Okay? What are the steps to solve logical and numerical problems? We just talked about the logical and the numerical problems. Numerical means computation, logical means where you have to take the decisions, right? The representation of the algorithm, there are two forms of representation. One is called as flowchart, the other is called as pseudocode. Okay? Pseudocode is like a plain English, and flowchart is more of a visual representation in the form of a diagram. Okay? So these are the two ways to represent an algorithm. Only understanding these few theoretical concepts, we will be able to proceed further from algorithms to programs, and then try to understand what is the source code, what are the different components of a program, how do we program in a particular programming language. Okay? A language is a means of communication, right? We have a means of communication. We are talking in English. We sometimes talk in Hindi, right? So these are different means of communication. So there are different means of communication, right? Similarly, to talk to computer also, we have different means of communication, and those means are called as language. We just give the example like C, C++, Java, Python, so on. Okay? All clear till now? Okay. So with this overview of the syllabus, let me just stop the recording first.